The ship called Horizon moved slowly through the darkness of space. It was not a beautiful ship. It was not a powerful ship. It was simply the best that humanity could build with the resources they had. Captain Una Park stood at the front window and watched the massive space station grow larger and larger as they approached. She had dreamed of this moment since she was a little girl on Earth. First contact. The day humanity would finally meet other species from across the galaxy. The day they would take their place among the stars. "Captain, we are receiving a signal from the station," said Lieutenant Taiho Kim from his seat at the controls. He was a quiet man with steady hands and calm eyes. Nothing ever seemed to shake him. "Put it through," Una said. A strange voice filled the bridge. It spoke in a language that should have been impossible to understand, but somehow the words made sense in their minds. "Human vessel, you are cleared to dock at Platform 47. Representatives will meet you. Do not bring weapons. Do not touch anything. Follow all instructions." The message ended. Una looked at Taiho and raised an eyebrow. "Friendly welcome," she said. Dr. Jisoo Han, the ship's language and culture expert, stepped forward. She was younger than the others, but her mind was sharp as a blade. "They've been watching us for some time, Captain. They know we're coming. I suspect they have already formed opinions about us." "Good opinions or bad opinions?" Taiho asked. Jisoo did not answer. Her face said enough. The docking was smooth. The doors opened, and the three of them stepped onto the station. The air smelled strange, like metal and flowers and something else they could not name. The corridor was wide enough for 10 people to walk side by side, and the ceiling was so high that Una could barely see it. Waiting for them were 3 aliens. The first was tall and thin, with skin like polished silver and eyes that glowed soft blue. The second was shorter and covered in thick brown fur, with 4 arms and a face that looked almost friendly. The third was the strangest of all. It had no solid form that Una could see. It was like a cloud of purple smoke that somehow held together in the shape of a body. The silver one spoke first. "I am Ambassador Vorthal of the Kelani. I have been assigned to process your application for recognition by the Galactic Confederation." His voice was cold and smooth, like ice sliding over stone. Una bowed her head slightly. "Thank you, Ambassador. We are honored to be here. Humanity has waited a long time for this day." Vorthal made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Yes, we are aware. Your species has been making noise in this region of space for some time now. Loud, clumsy noise." The furry alien with 4 arms grinned, showing rows of small teeth. The purple smoke creature said nothing, but Una felt something cold brush against her thoughts. It was reading her mind, she realized. Tasting her emotions, they were led through the station to a massive chamber. It was circular, with seats rising up in rings toward the distant ceiling. Thousands of aliens sat in those seats. Thousands of eyes, some with pupils, some without, some glowing, some dark as empty space. All turned to look at the 3 humans standing in the center. Una had never felt so small in her entire life. A booming voice echoed through the chamber. "The Galactic Confederation recognizes the presence of representatives from the species known as human. They come from a small planet called Earth, in a system on the outer edge of the spiral arm. They have achieved faster than light travel within the last decade. They seek membership in our confederation." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Una heard sounds that might have been whispers, clicks, growls, and things she had no words for. Ambassador Vorthal stood and addressed the assembly. "I have reviewed the data on this species. They are short-lived, with an average lifespan of less than 100 years. They have no natural weapons, no claws, no venom, no telepathic abilities. They cannot survive in vacuum. They cannot regenerate damaged limbs. They require constant intake of oxygen and water. Their bodies are fragile, easily damaged by temperature, radiation, and physical force. He paused and looked directly at Yuna. His glowing eyes held something that looked very much like pity. In short, he continued, they are soft meat that expires in a single century. They have achieved space travel, which is remarkable for a species of their limitations. However, I see no reason to grant them anything beyond the minimum recognition required by all laws. The chamber erupted in what Yuna slowly realized was laughter. Different species laughed in different ways. Some made high-pitched sounds. Some rumbled like thunder. Some flashed colors across their skin. But they were all laughing. At humanity. At her. She felt Taiho tense beside her. She felt Jisu's hand touch her arm, a quiet warning to stay calm. The Confederation assigns the species human to Class 7 status, the booming voice announced. They are granted no voting rights. They are forbidden from trade with Class 4 species and above. They may not colonize any planet within 500 light-years of Confederation core space. They are required to submit to inspection of any vessel by Confederation authority upon request. It was the lowest status possible. Lower than species that had barely discovered fire. Lower than species that still lived in oceans and communicated through chemical signals. Yuna stepped forward. The laughter died down. Thousands of alien eyes focused on her. May I speak? She asked. Ambassador Vorthel waved a silver hand. You may. Though I cannot imagine what you could possibly say that would be of interest. Yuna looked around the chamber. She looked at the ancient species who had ruled the stars for thousands of years. She looked at their advanced technology, their massive ships, their powerful weapons. She looked at their contempt, and she smiled. Thank you, she said. Thank you for your honesty. We now know exactly where we stand. We will accept your classification. We will follow your rules. We will stay in the corners of space that you do not want. She paused. But I want you to remember this moment. I want you to remember how you looked at us today. Because we are patient. We are adaptable. And we have a very, very long memory. She turned and walked toward the exit. Taiho and Jisu followed. Behind her, she heard more laughter. But it was quieter now. A few of the aliens had stopped laughing entirely. They were watching the three small humans walk away. And something in their ancient eyes looked almost like doubt. On the ship. After the doors were sealed, and they were moving away from the station, Taiho finally spoke. That was humiliating, he said. Yes, Yuna agreed. They will never respect us, Jisu added. Their culture values age, power, and natural ability. We have none of those things. Yuna sat in her captain's chair and looked out at the stars. So many stars. So many worlds. And humanity had been told they deserved none of them. They have ruled for 50,000 years, she said quietly. They have forgotten what it is like to struggle. They have forgotten what it is like to fight for survival. They look at us and see weakness. She turned to her crew. They will learn, she said. We have been underestimated before. By predators. By nature. By ourselves. And we are still here. We crawled out of the mud, survived ice ages, plagues, and wars. We will survive this too. Taiho nodded slowly. What do we do now? Yuna looked back at the stars. We go home. We tell Earth what we learned today. And then we build. We grow. We wait. Her eyes were calm, but deep inside them burned something that the ancient species of the galaxy had not seen in a very long time. Hope of patience, and the first small spark of fury. 5 years passed. The galaxy forgot about humanity. The great species of the Confederation had more important things to think about. Trade wars, territory disputes, ancient rivalries that had burned for 10,000 years. The small, soft creatures from the outer spiral arm were barely worth mentioning, but humanity had not forgotten. On a rocky moon orbiting a gas giant that no other species wanted, a city was growing. They called it New Bizen, and it was ugly. The buildings were made from whatever materials the colonists could find. The streets were narrow and crowded. The air recyclers hummed constantly, fighting to keep everyone alive. Governor Minho Choi stood on a platform above the city and watched his people work. They were miners, engineers, farmers, teachers. They had come here with nothing, and they were building something from nothing. "The water recyclers are running at full capacity," said his assistant. A young woman named Sujin Lee. She was thin and tired-looking, with dark circles under her eyes. She had not slept properly in weeks. "We need more filters. The ones we have are breaking down faster than we expected." "Did you contact the trading station?" Minho asked. Sujin laughed, but there was no humor in it. "They said Class 7 species are not priority customers. Our request has been placed in queue. Estimated wait time is 14 months. 14 months. Half the colony could be dead from contaminated water by then." Minho looked at the stars above. Somewhere out there, species with more power and more rights were living in comfort. They had clean water. They had food that did not come from recycled protein paste. They had medicine that could cure any disease, and they had decided that humanity deserved none of it. "Then we make our own filters," Minho said. "We have always found a way. We will find a way now." Sujin nodded. She was already thinking, already calculating. That was what Minho loved about her. She never complained. She never gave up. She just worked harder. On the other side of human space, a cargo ship called the Morning Star was making its way through an asteroid field. The captain, a man named Dong Jun Beek, was whistling a song his grandmother used to sing. It was an old Earth song about the sea, and it made him feel close to home, even though home was 1,000 light years away. "Captain, we have a contact," his navigator said. "Confederation patrol ship. They are signaling us to stop." Dong-hyun stopped whistling. His stomach went cold. "We are in neutral space," he said. "They have no authority here. They are claiming inspection rights under the Class 7 protocols." Dong-hyun closed his eyes. He knew the protocols. Any Confederation authority could stop any human vessel at any time for any reason. They did not need to explain. They did not need to justify. They just needed to want to. The patrol ship was sleek and beautiful, built by the Vraxi Dominion. The Vraxi were tall and powerful, with gray skin and 4 eyes. They were known throughout the galaxy as warriors. They had conquered dozens of species over the centuries. They feared nothing and respected only strength taught to them. Humans were insects. The Vraxi soldiers boarded the Morning Star. Their leader was massive, nearly 3 meters tall. He looked at Dong-hyun the way a person might look at a small bug crawling across the floor. "You are carrying technology," the Vraxi said. "Where did you get it?" "We made it," Dong-hyun replied. "It is an engine component. A new design. We are transporting it to one of our colonies." The Vraxi picked up the component. It was a small device, no bigger than a human head. Inside it was Sujin Lee's greatest invention, the persistence drive. It could make ships faster and more efficient than anything the Confederation had. "This is advanced technology," the Vraxi said. "Too advanced for Class 7 species. You must have stolen it." "We did not steal it. We invented it." The Vraxi made a sound that was something between a growl and a laugh. "Impossible. Your kind does not invent. Your kind digs in the dirt and dies young." He turned to his soldiers. "Confiscate the cargo. All of it." Dong-hyun stepped forward. "You cannot do that. This is our property. We built it with our own hands." The Vraxi moved faster than any creature that large should be able to move. His fist connected with Dongyun's chest. Something cracked. Dongyun flew backward and hit the wall hard. Blood came from his mouth. "Know your place, soft meat," the Vraxi said. They took everything. Every piece of cargo. Every tool. Every scrap of food. They left the Morning Star drifting in space with barely enough power to send a distress signal. When the rescue ship finally arrived 3 days later, Dongyun was barely alive. His ribs were broken. His lung had collapsed. He had spent 3 days in the cold darkness, waiting and hoping. The first thing he said when they brought him aboard was, "Tell everyone. Tell them what happened. Tell them what they did." The news spread across human space like fire. On New Bizan, Governor Minho read the report and felt something heavy settle in his chest. On a research station near a dying star, Sujin Lee heard what had happened to her invention and felt something she had never felt before. It was hot and sharp, and it made her hands shake. On Earth, in the great assembly hall where human leaders gathered, the images were shown. Dongyun's broken body, the empty cargo hold, the message from the Vraxi patrol. Class 7 species reminded of their status. No further action required. Admiral Hyung Woo Shin, the highest-ranking military officer in human space, stood and spoke. "For 5 years, we have followed their rules. We have accepted their insults. We have stayed in the corners they gave us. And still, they beat our people. Still, they steal our work. Still, they treat us like animals." He looked around the room. "I am not saying we should start a war. We cannot win a war. Not yet. But I am saying we should prepare. We should build ships. We should train soldiers. We should be ready for the day when they push us too far." Some leaders nodded. Others looked worried. A few looked afraid. On New Bizan, Sujin Lee worked through the night. Her eyes burned. Her fingers ached. But she did not stop. She was building something new. Something better. A ship engine that was twice as fast as her last design. When Minho found her in the morning, she was asleep at her desk. Papers covered with calculations surrounded her. In the center of the mess was a single drawing. A ship. A fast ship. A ship that could run from anything in the galaxy. Or chase it. Minho looked at the drawing for a long time. Then he carefully covered Sujin with a blanket and left her to sleep. Outside, the ugly city of New Bizan continued to grow. People continued to work. Children were born. Old people died. Life went on, as it always did for humans, but something had changed. Something had shifted in the hearts of the scattered human colonies. The insults they could accept, the mockery they could ignore, but the violence, the theft, the casual cruelty, those things they would remember. They were patient. They were adaptable. And they were starting to get angry. Far away, in the great halls of the Galactic Confederation, no one noticed. No one cared. The soft meat from the outer spiral arm was not important. Enough to think about. They would learn how wrong they were. But not yet. Not today. Today, humanity waited. And worked. And remembered. And deep in their hearts, a fire was beginning to burn. Haven's Rest was a beautiful world. It had green hills and blue rivers and soft winds that carried the smell of flowers. 40,000 humans lived there. They had built farms and schools and small towns. Children played in the fields. Old people sat on porches and watched the sunset. It was the kind of place humans dreamed about when they were stuck on mining stations and cargo ships. It was home. Mayor Yoonji Kang walked through the central town on a warm morning. She knew almost everyone by name. She had helped build half the buildings with her own hands. Before she was mayor, she had been a soldier. She had fought in the last war on Earth, the one that nearly ended everything. She had sworn to never fight again. Mayor Kang, there's a message from the Confederation, her assistant said. He was young and nervous, and his hands were shaking. Yoonji felt ice form in her stomach. Messages from the Confederation were never good news. The message was simple. The Vraxi Dominion had filed a claim on the planet designated Human Colony 7, also known as Haven's Rest, according to an old treaty from 3,000 years ago. The mineral deposits under the northern mountains belonged to Vraxi territory. The Galactic Council had reviewed the claim and found it valid. The human colonists had 30 days to evacuate, 30 days to leave the homes they had built, 30 days to abandon the fields they had planted, 30 days to tell their children that everything they knew was gone. Yoonji read the message 3 times. Then she walked outside and looked at the sky. Sergeant Yeho Yoon found her there an hour later. He was the head of the colony's defense force, which was really just 50 men and women with old rifles and a lot of determination. "You have seen the message," he said. It was not a question. "Yes. What will we do?" Yoonji thought about her years as a soldier. She thought about the blood and the pain and the friends she had buried. She thought about the promise she had made to never fight again. Then she thought about the children playing in the fields. She thought about the old people on their porches. She thought about what would happen to them if they were forced onto refugee ships with nowhere to go. "We will not leave," she said. Yeho nodded slowly. "The Vraxi will send ships, soldiers. We cannot fight them." "No," Yoonji agreed. "We cannot fight them. But we can make them pay for every meter of ground they take. We can make them bleed. We can make them understand that this world is not free." She turned to face him. "Call a town meeting. Everyone needs to hear this. Everyone needs to decide for themselves." The meeting was held that night in the largest building in town. Every adult who could walk was there. Yoonji stood at the front and told them everything. She told them about the claim, about the council's decision, about what would happen if they left. Then she told them what would happen if they stayed. "We will be fighting the Vraxi," she said. "They are bigger than us, stronger than us. They have better weapons. They have more soldiers. If we stay and fight, many of us will die. Maybe all of us." She paused. "But if we leave, we tell the galaxy that humans can be pushed out of their homes whenever a stronger species wants what we have. We tell them that our lives, our work, our dreams mean nothing. We tell them that we are exactly what they think we are. Soft meat that can be brushed aside." The room was silent. "I am staying," Yoonji said. "But I will not ask anyone else to stay. If you want to leave, the evacuation ships are ready. No one will think less of you. Survival is not cowardice." She waited. An old man in the front row stood up. His name was Grandfather Wan, and he had been one of the first colonists. "I did not cross the stars to run away from lizards," he said. "I am staying." A young mother with a baby in her arms stood. "My daughter will grow up on this world or she will not grow up at all. I am staying." One by one they stood. Farmers and teachers and doctors and miners. Old and young. Strong and weak. They stood until the entire room was on its feet. "Then we prepare," Yoonji said. And for the first time in years, she felt the old soldier inside her wake up. The Vraxi fleet arrived on the 29th day. 50 warships, bristling with weapons. The commander was a veteran named General Thrak, who had conquered 7 worlds and never lost a battle. He sent a message to the colony. "You have 1 day remaining. Leave now or face destruction." Yoonji sent a message back. It was broadcast across the galaxy on every open channel. Every species in the Confederation could hear it. "We came in peace," she said. "We asked for nothing but a place to live. You gave us your scraps and then demanded we thank you. Now you come to take even that. We will not leave. If you want this world, come and take it. General Thrak laughed when he heard the message. His officers laughed with him. Soft meat trying to sound brave. It was almost sad. The ground assault began the next morning. 5,000 Vraci soldiers landed near the northern mountains. They expected to march into the colony and round up the humans. Like animals, they did not expect the mines. The first explosion killed 40 soldiers. The second killed 30 more. By the time they reached the first town, they had already lost 200. The town was empty. The buildings were empty. But inside those empty buildings were traps. Wires connected to explosives. Floors that collapsed into pits. Poison gas released by simple triggers. The Vraci were warriors. They were not cowards. They pushed forward, and the humans hit them from every direction. They came from the forests and the hills. They came from tunnels dug beneath the ground. They came with old rifles and homemade bombs and farming tools sharpened into spears. They struck fast and then disappeared. They killed 10 Vraci and then melted back into the land like ghosts. General Thrak sent more soldiers. The humans killed those too. He sent vehicles. The humans destroyed them with traps and ambushes. He ordered his ships to bomb the colony from orbit. The bombing destroyed buildings, but the humans were not in the buildings. They were underground. They were in caves. They were everywhere and nowhere. 2 weeks passed. The Vraci had taken less than 10 kilometers of ground. They had lost 3,000 soldiers. General Thrak was no longer laughing. Yunji fought alongside her people. She was not young anymore, but her hands still remembered how to hold a weapon. Yeho was always beside her, quiet and steady. "They are bringing more soldiers," he told her one night. "Another 5,000. We cannot hold much longer." Yunji looked at her remaining fighters. There were less than 1,000 left. Many were wounded. All were exhausted. "Then we make the next week cost them more than the last two," she said. The second wave of Vraci landed. And the killing continued. By the end of the third week, the Vraci had lost 12,000 soldiers. 12,000 of the galaxy's greatest warriors, killed by farmers and teachers with old guns and stubborn hearts. General Thrak received a message from the Vraci High Command. "The losses are unacceptable. Withdraw and reassess." He stared at the message for a long time. He had conquered 7 worlds. He had never retreated, but he had also never fought humans before. The Vraci fleet left Haven's Rest on the 22nd day of the battle. They left behind 12,000 bodies and a burning hatred that would shape events for years to come. On the ground, the surviving humans emerged from their hiding places. They looked at the destruction around them. Half their colony was gone. Thousands of their friends and family were dead, but they were still there. The world was still theirs. Eung stood in the ruins of the central town. Yeho found her there, just as he always did. "We did it," he said. Yunji shook her head. "We survived." "That is not the same thing. They will come back. They will bring more ships, more soldiers. This is not over. But for now, for this moment." They had one. And across the galaxy, species who had laughed at humanity watched the news reports with very different expressions. The soft meat had teeth after all. The Galactic Council chamber was loud with angry voices. Species that had not spoken to each other in centuries were now shouting across the room. The holographic images of the battle on Haven's Rest played on repeat. Vraci soldiers dying. Human farmers fighting back. Explosions and chaos and blood. Ambassador Vorthal of the Kelani watched in silence. His silver skin seemed duller than usual. His glowing blue eyes were fixed on the images. He remembered standing in this same chamber 10 years ago, calling humans soft meat. He remembered laughing. He was not laughing now. "This is an outrage." The Vraci representative screamed. His gray skin was dark with rage. These primitive creatures killed 12,000 of our finest warriors. The Confederation must punish them. We demand justice. Justice? Another voice cut through the noise. It belonged to a small, furry creature from a species called the Minari. They were traders and merchants, known for their cunning minds. You invaded their home. You tried to take their land. They defended themselves. Where is the crime? They are Class 7. They have no right to resist. They have every right to survive. The argument went on for hours. Some species supported the Vraxi. They said humans were dangerous and needed to be controlled. Others were more careful. They had watched the battle footage. They had seen what humans could do when pushed into a corner. Ambassador Vorthel finally stood and spoke. I was wrong, he said. The chamber went silent. Kelani never admitted mistakes. 10 years ago, I looked at these creatures and saw nothing. Weak bodies. Short lives. No natural weapons. I thought they would fade away like so many other young species. He paused. I did not understand what I was seeing. These humans, they are not strong because of their bodies. They are strong because of something else. Something inside them. Call it stubbornness. Call it madness. Call it will. Whatever it is, we have not seen anything like it in a very long time. You suggest we fear them? The Vraxi representative spat. I suggest we stop underestimating them. That is all. The council argued for 3 more days. In the end, they decided nothing. They were good at that, but in secret meetings held in dark rooms, other decisions were being made. Intelligence reports leaked to human colonies through sympathetic traders. The reports were terrifying. Several species were discussing containment measures for humanity, restrictions on population growth, limits on technology. Some even mentioned forced sterilization. They wanted to make sure humanity never became a threat. Admiral Hume Wuxin read the reports in his office on Earth's largest space station. He was an old man now, with gray hair and deep lines on his face. He had spent his entire life preparing for a war he hoped would never come. Now he knew it was coming whether he wanted it or not. Call the fleet commanders, he said to his aide. All of them. We need to talk. On New Bizen, Sujin Li worked in her laboratory. The persistence drive had been improved 7 times since Dongyun's cargo was stolen. Each version was faster and more efficient than the last. Ships using her engines could outrun anything the Confederation had. Governor Minho found her staring at blueprints for something new. What is it? He asked. A warship, she said. Her voice was flat. A real warship. Fast enough to strike and run. Tough enough to take hits. Armed enough to hurt anything that tries to stop it. Minho looked at the blueprints. The ship was beautiful in a dangerous way. It looked like a predator. Can you build it? I can build 100 of them. If we have the resources, we will find the resources. Across human space, the same scene played out again and again. Mining colonies increased production. Factories worked day and night. Young men and women volunteered for military training. Old soldiers like Yunji Kang came out of retirement to teach them. The human defense fleet grew from 20 ships to 50. Then 100. Then 200. Admiral Hyunwoo addressed the human worlds through a broadcast that reached every colony, every station, every ship. They see us as a disease to be cured, he said. They whisper about sterilization and containment. They think they can erase us from history, like a mistake that needs correcting. His eyes were hard and bright. Let them try. We did not crawl out of the mud, survive ice ages, plagues, and our own stupidity just to be erased by species who were born with every advantage and still fear us. They have ruled for 50,000 years. They have forgotten what it means to struggle. They have forgotten what it means to fight for survival. We have not forgotten. We will never forget. The broadcast ended. In homes and barracks and ships across human space, people watched in silence. Some cried. Some cheered. All of them felt something stir in their chests. Pride, determination, fury. The Vraxi did not wait long. General Thrak had been humiliated at Haven's Rest. He had been mocked by his own people. He wanted revenge, and the Vraxi High Command was happy to give it to him. 500 warships. The largest fleet the Vraxi had assembled in 300 years. Enough firepower to crack a planet in half. Their target was not Haven's Rest this time. Their target was Earth. Destroy their homeworld, the Vraxi High Command ordered. Break their spirit. Show the galaxy what happens to species that forget their place. The fleet gathered at a staging point 3 days from the Sol system. General Thrak stood on the bridge of his flagship and looked at the endless rows of ships. This time, he said, there will be no retreat. This time, we finish what we started. On Earth, the warning came from a small trading vessel that spotted the fleet and barely escaped to bring the news. Admiral Humu received the report and felt something cold settle in his stomach. 500 ships. He had 200. It is not enough, his aide said quietly. We cannot win this battle. Hyunwoo looked out the window at the blue and green world below. Earth, home, the place where humanity had been born. The place where they had learned to walk, to speak, to dream of the stars. Maybe not, he said, but we can make them pay for every kilometer they advance. We can hurt them so badly that even if they win, they lose. He turned to face his staff. Send word to every colony, every ship, every station. Call everyone home. This is the fight we have been preparing for. This is the moment that decides if humanity lives or dies. He paused, and when he spoke again, his voice was steady. We will not go quietly. We will not surrender. We will not beg for mercy from creatures who have shown us none. If this is our end, then we will make it an end that the galaxy remembers for 10,000 years. The human defense fleet began to move. Ships from 100 colonies raced toward Earth. Old ships and new ships. Fast ships and slow ships. Cargo vessels armed with whatever weapons they could find. Mining ships with reinforced hulls. It was not a proper fleet. It was a gathering of desperate people fighting for survival. But it was all they had. And sometimes that is enough. The Sol system was quiet. Earth hung in space like a blue jewel, beautiful and fragile. Around it, the human defense fleet waited. 200 ships arranged in defensive formations. Behind them, orbital platforms bristled with weapons. Stealth minefields floated invisible in the darkness. Admiral Hyunwoo stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Sol. Beside him, Captain Yuna Park watched the sensor displays. She was admiral now too, promoted after her years of service. Her hair was gray, but her eyes were the same as they had been 20 years ago when she first faced the Galactic Council. They are coming, she said. 500 ships. Arrival in 6 hours. I know. Yumu looked at the blue world below. I remember when I was a boy on Earth. I used to look at the stars and wonder what was out there. I wondered if we would find friends among them. Yuna nodded. Instead we found this. He turned to face her. Yuna, I want you to know something. Whatever happens today, it has been an honor serving with you. The honor is mine, Admiral. The Vraxi fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel like predators appearing from tall grass. 500 ships, gleaming with weapons, arranged in perfect attack formation. General Thrak stood on his bridge and looked at the tiny human fleet. Is this all they have? He asked. Yes, General. 200 ships. Our intelligence was correct. Thrak made a sound of disgust. They insult us by even trying to resist. Signal the fleet. Begin the attack. The Vraxi ships moved forward. Their weapons began to charge, and then the mines detonated. The first wave of explosions caught 30 ships. Fire bloomed in the darkness. Ships cracked and broke apart. The Vraxi formation wavered, surprised by weapons they could not see. Stealth mines. Someone shouted on Thrax Bridge. They have hidden weapons everywhere. Push through. Thrak ordered. We have the numbers. Push through. The Vraxi fleet continued forward, but now they were cautious. They scanned for more mines. They adjusted their formation. It slowed them down, and while they were slow, the human fleet attacked. The ships Sujin Lee had designed were everything she had promised. Fast as lightning, tough as stone, armed with weapons that hit harder than anything their size should carry. They struck the flanks of the Vraxi formation and then disappeared before the larger ships could respond. General Thrak watched 50 of his ships die in the first hour. 50 more died in the second. How is this possible? He demanded. They are primitives. They should not be able to fight like this. But they could. They did. Lieutenant Taiho Kim, old now but still calm, still steady, commanded a squadron of fast attack ships. He had been with Yuna since the beginning. He had seen the mockery and the contempt. He had watched Dong Yun nearly die on a cargo ship far from home. Today, he was paying it all back. His squadron hit a Vraxi cruiser from 3 directions at once. Their weapons tore through shields that should have been invincible. The cruiser broke apart, and Taiho was already moving to the next target. 3 more kills, his pilot reported. Squadron is at full strength. Keep moving, Taiho said. Never stop moving. They cannot hit what they cannot catch. The battle raged for hours. The humans lost ships. Good ships with good crews. Every loss was felt like a wound. But the Vraxi were losing more. Much more. General Thrak ordered his fleet to focus on the human flagship. If they could kill the command ship, maybe the humans would break. The Soul came under attack from 20 ships at once. Her shields flickered and failed. Her hull cracked and groaned. Fire spread through her corridors. Admiral Hyunwoo gave orders from a bridge that was falling apart around him. All batteries, return fire. Launch all remaining fighters. Signal the fleet to continue the attack. Do not stop. Do not slow down. Yuna appeared beside him. Blood ran from a cut on her forehead, but she did not seem to notice. The ship is dying, she said. We need to evacuate. No. Hyun Woo's voice was calm. Set collision course for the Vraxi command ship. Yuna stared at him for a moment. Then she nodded. Understood. She turned to the helm officer. You heard the Admiral. Collision course. The Soul, broken and burning, began to accelerate. The Vraxi ships around her tried to stop her, but she was already too close. Her engine screamed. Her hull glowed red from the heat of weapons fire. Taiho's voice came over the communication system. Admiral, we can cover your escape. You do not have to do this. Hyunwoo smiled. I am 80 years old, Lieutenant. I have seen enough. But you have work to do. Win this battle. Protect our home. Build a future I will not see. Admiral, that is an order. Taiho was silent for a moment. Then, yes, sir. It has been an honor. The honor was mine. The Soul struck the Vraxi command ship at full speed. The explosion was visible from Earth. 2 great ships, locked together, turning into fire and light and dust. General Thrak died without understanding what had happened. He died still believing that humans were soft meat. He died wrong. The Vraxi fleet broke. Without their command ship, without their general, they lost coordination. They lost will. Ships that had never retreated in 300 years turned and ran from creatures half their size. The human fleet chased them. They chased them all the way to the edge of the system and beyond. Of 500 Raxi ships, 340 were destroyed. The rest fled into the darkness, carrying stories that would change the galaxy forever. 3 days later, a human ship arrived at the Galactic Council station. It was a small ship, damaged from the battle, but it flew proudly. The representative who stepped off the ship was young. Her name was Hanaru. She had been born on Haven's Rest, had survived the invasion, had fought in the defense of Earth. She walked into the Great Chamber, where her species had been mocked 20 years before. The chamber was silent. Thousands of alien eyes watched her. No one was laughing. Hannah stood in the center of the floor and spoke. You called us primitive. You called us weak. You laughed when we asked for a seat at your table. Then you tried to destroy us. She looked around the room. We are still here. She paused, letting the words settle. We did not want your war. We never wanted war. We wanted only a place to live, a chance to grow, a future for our children. You denied us all of these things. You pushed us into corners. You beat us and stole from us and tried to erase us. Her voice grew harder. But know this. If you bring fire to our homes again, we will not just defend. We will remember. And we will come for you. Not today. Not tomorrow. But someday, when you have forgotten, when you feel safe, we will come. Because we are patient. We are adaptable. And we have a very, very long memory. The chamber remains silent. We are requesting full membership in the Galactic Confederation. Voting rights. Trade privileges. The same status as any other spacefaring species. Those who oppose this request may speak now. No one spoke. Then we are agreed. Hannah turned and walked out of the chamber. Behind her, the ancient species of the galaxy sat in their seats and tried to understand what had just happened. The soft meat had won. On Haven's Rest, Mayor Yunji Kang tended a small garden outside her rebuilt home. The scars of battle were still visible on the land, but flowers were growing again. Life was returning. A child approached her. A little girl with bright eyes and curious questions. Mayor Kang, what are the stars like? Yunji looked up at the sky. She thought about all the things she had seen. The cruelty and the courage. The loss and the triumph. The long journey from mockery to respect. Dangerous, she said. Beautiful. And finally, they know our name. The little girl smiled and ran off to play. Yunji watched her go and felt something she had not felt in a long time. Hope above her. The stars burned bright. And somewhere out there, the galaxy was learning a lesson it would never forget. Never underestimate humanity that never pushed them into a corner. And never, ever make them angry, because soft meat bites back.